Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 25 of What If Naruto Was a Badass Genius. Remember to get this one to 200 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also stay in tune because I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto's from the two greatest clans. So stay in tune for that, and I hope you guys do enjoy. And also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Banished and got a supernatural ability over on Anime King 2, and enjoy that guys. And later on I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Got Banished and gathered all of the Jinchurikis. So stay in tune for that, and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for your help and support. And yeah, what do you say without further ado, we begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails.
So, the last time we left off, Sasuke came back to the village pissed as Mikoto asked him what happened, as he told him that him and Naruto got into an argument, as she asked him what he did. But Sasuke was angry, as she just assumed that it was his fault, as he wants to go to Kumo with Naruto, but Naruto wouldn't let him. When Naruto finally arrived at Kumo, he was brought to the Raikage's office, as Naruto informed the Raikage about the Akatsuki, and they're coming after the two-tailed next. But the Raikage wouldn't stand for any of that, as he told Naruto that he can protect his Jinchurikis, as Naruto was pissed, wasting his time coming all out here, as he then walked off after saying an insult. The Raikage was about to say something else, but Naruto simply vanished. Getting back to Konoha, Temaru was there, as Temaru wanted to talk to Naruto, as she wanted to talk to her brother as well, as Naruto headed with her towards the Sand Village. Meanwhile, Sasuke was at Konoha talking to Tsunade, as he asked her if the opportunity to be an envoy is still open, as Tsunade told him yes, after the required training, he can be, as Sasuke wanted some time away from Naruto, as the blonde was really starting to piss him off. Naruto told Gaara that he has no intention of taking over the Sand Village or ruling it in any way, but he can help him here and there by telling him a few things. Naruto was heading back home when he came upon Black Zetsu, as Black Zetsu told him that the one tail has already been acquired, the two tail has already been captured, and next they're going after the three tails, and then the others, and then him, as Black Zetsu then disappeared, telling him that he will meet again. After saying that, as Naruto came back to the village, later that night Naruto was in his studies as Yujiro came in, as she asked him if he is just trying to play her, as Naruto told her no, he wouldn't do anything like that, as she said good, as she then kissed him. The both of them started to make out until Naruto vanished with her, as they arrived at the Senju compound, as she told him he has to get things out with Mikoto, as Naruto told her he would do that, as the both of them went all the way. The next morning, she woke up as she was happy, as it was just different with Naruto, as she enjoyed that quite a lot. As she was talking to Naruto, he should really take things in precaution, seeing that he didn't even use protection. What if he accidentally got Mikoto pregnant? Later that day, Naruto was talking to Tsunade as Jiraiya was there as well, along with Kakashi, as they were going to go out to the hidden rain to find out if the leader of the Akatsuki was there tomorrow, as Tsunade told him to pack his things and get ready. As Naruto was at his house, as he was going through some books, Mikoto came in, as she asked him what is going on, and Naruto told her what if he and Yujito already slept together, as he told her that Yujito can give him a family, and something that will not screw up his mother relationship with her. But Mikoto held his hand and placed on her stomach, and told him that she's pregnant. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch across the page and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. We begin this episode with Jiraiya as he stared at Naruto for a long minute, but Naruto did not say a word. Since they met up, Naruto has been nothing but focused. There was obviously something happening inside his head, but just yesterday he was in a fine mood, so that meant something happened after he left the Hidden Leaf. But what could it be that made the blonde lose his focus like this? Naruto, Jiraiya said. But Naruto did not respond. Naruto, Jiraiya said. I heard you the first time you called, Naruto said, a bit harshly than intended, as there was a lot of raging thoughts inside his head. He was usually a controlled person, but this that happened was beyond his control, as he never expected Mikoto to be pregnant. That was something that didn't even cross his mind. He didn't even consider the possibility. This just came with his inexperience. If he was experienced, he'd have foreseen something like this. But no, he was riding high with Mikoto, as he wasn't focused on anything else. He was just enjoying the pleasure. The thought had been so ridiculous, even when Yu-Gi-Oh spoke of it, he dismissed it without another thought. At least it was not yet showing. There was still time for them to think about how they were going to deal with it before it starts showing. There was no way around it though. Naruto wasn't going to consider making it disappear before anyone found out about it. He was a cruel person at times, but he wasn't that heartless. Why didn't you spoke when I respond to you? Jiraiya demanded. I know you're having some thoughts, but you should have at least let me help you out. I know we aren't that close, but one of us might not leave this village. I have so many regrets, but at least I would like to go out knowing that I was a help to you, as the both of them were currently in the hidden rain. Naruto tilted his head. Why do you think one of us will die, Jiraiya? Why do you think you will die? It is just a thought, Jiraiya said. Besides, we both know that we're going to face someone ridiculously powerful. You have not shown fear for any member of the Akatsuki, but when it has come to the leader, you have been unwilling to engage. Besides, if he really does hold the Rinnegan, there is something to fear. I believe the Dojutsu is much more powerful than the Sharingan. Naruto nodded. Since you're the eyes of a legendary sage, we can assume that much. Since we are on the issue, we have to change the scope of our mission. This is no longer a mission just to test if the leader is here. If we find him, we kill him. As Jiraiya looked at Naruto with curiosity. Why the change, he asked. Things have changed, Naruto said. I can no longer allow a man like him to continue living. Why, Jiraiya asked. As Naruto was silent for a few seconds, and then turned towards Jiraiya fully. Mikoto, Sasuke's mother is apparently pregnant with my child, he said, with a straight face. He didn't have a problem with telling the man. Tsunade was going to know and the man would know. Besides that, he had valuable experience with life. Jiraiya quickly burst out laughing, as he had to calm himself because Naruto did not share his amusement. You're serious? He said. Do I look like I'm full of shit to you? Naruto asked. As Jiraiya blinked at the language from Naruto, as he almost cautioned Naruto over his language. It was not fitting for him. But that wasn't the main thing at the moment. How did it happen? Again with the stupid questions, Jiraiya, Naruto said. Sorry, Jiraiya said. I understand why you're like this, but we're in enemy territory. I know that you're going to be a father, so I cannot think of dying now. Can we talk about it after our mission? It will give me motivation to fight, knowing that we have to talk about it. Fine, Naruto said, as he looked around the village. This village is rather unique, he said. As he was mentioning the metallic skyscrapers, it was like anything he has ever seen. The village just stopped raining about a minute ago, and it was always raining. Jiraiya, did you notice the rain? It was infused with chakra. Why didn't you say anything earlier, Jiraiya said, as he dragged Naruto away, as he brought him to a sewer. This would explain why people are not able to come back. If the rain was infused with chakra, it could be used for sensory purposes. The barrier on the leaf detects anyone that is not from the leaf, and the rain could be used for the same purpose. My mind was a bit caught up in other things, Naruto said. Likely, said Jiraiya. Are you sure you're alright? You know we're going to face a very dangerous enemy. Naruto lowered his head for a few seconds, as he then lifted back up his face, as there was a calm demeanor on his face. Don't worry, I'll be fine, he said. You should gather intel, Naruto said. I will send out a clone. The enemy would likely have found out our location if we go around interrogating people. I like the way you think when you're serious, Jiraiya, Naruto said. I will send out a clone as well. As Jiraiya nodded, with pain, Konan, Tendo called out. We have intruders in the village. They have been here for a couple of minutes. I just wanted to confirm something I sense. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki is likely one of the intruders. Go out and confirm. I'll be preparing my bodies in case it is him. Is that really necessary, Naruto? Konan asked. If he is the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, our opponent will be the Biju. We cannot go easy on him. Back with Naruto and Jiraiya. I wonder what kind of power Pain wields, Naruto said, for these people to speak so highly of him and call him a god. Finding out about that would be difficult though, since no one has seen him. But you don't seem disturbed by the thought though, Jiraiya said. Should he be disturbed that there was a god in this village? No, not until he saw what the man can do. Unless he sees something that was too powerful to be a human, then he would say the man was a god. But unless he saw that, he's nothing but a human with powerful eyes. As they came across a building and landed in a secluded area, Jiraiya snapped his head upwards as he noticed. As he quickly recognized her, it was Konan, and he also saw the Rinnegan. But what surprised him that he was seeing two Rinnegan wielders. There shouldn't be two of them, but just one. If he was seeing Konan and the Rinnegan, does this mean the other man along here was Nagato? But how could that be? He thought that they were dead. And the cloaks that they were wearing, it is of the Akatsuki. So Nagato was the god, and Konan was the angel. What had happened to his students? What had really happened to them? Jiraiya wasn't angry, but he was disappointed in the loving children that he trained turned out like this. Konan, you can stand back. I will handle them, but just in case, be ready for anything, said the animal path. It didn't matter if he was seeing his sensei as an intruder. He came out here to kill the intruder and take the Kyuubi Jinjulki. It will be one step closer to peace. Jiraiya was not an ally, he had to be removed. What he did back then has to be put aside. What are you going to do, Pain? Konan asked. We're going to kill Jiraiya and take the Kyuubi. It should be easy to get the rest of the Bijus once we have the Kyuubi in our possession, Pain said. This isn't the time for regrets, Konan. We have already come this far, there's no turning back. Konan merely nodded as she looked at Jiraiya for a moment before making a distance away from Pain. Konan, Nagato, what happened to you two? Why are you with the Akatsuki? Jiraiya shouted. We started this organization for the sake of peace, Jiraiya-sensei. I did not think that we would meet again. But now you're here as our enemy, and you have to be dealt with. Jiraiya shook his head. Was this really Nagato? That soft child who cried about bringing peace to the world? As he was speaking now, it made him feel small. Could people change like this? Orochimaru had already been twisted, so he was out of the picture of people changing. Peace? How come what the Akatsuki is doing can bring peace? What you're doing is wrong, Nagato. There can be no peace, it's just conflict. These conflicts are what is to teach people pain. For the world to grow, they need to understand. I was just a naive child when I experienced pain, and I grew up, not just to be a man but a god. I will teach this world pain, as a god of peace. I never thought you'd become a twisted person like this, Nagato, Jiraiya said. My intention here was to investigate more about the Akatsuki and take care of the leader. I never thought that I would end up facing my students. As Jiraiya prepared himself, there was no more talking. Naruto started to speak through hand sign. Let's get this going, Jiraiya, he said. Before Jiraiya could respond, Naruto already released his jutsu. Wind style, rest on few. As Naruto released a powerful stream of wind from his mouth. The wind blasted towards the two paths, standing above the two Konoha ninja. The two pain flashed away, one to the left and one to the right, as Naruto jutsu hit the steel wall, creating a boom, as it tear right through it. Oh, you're showing your true colors now, said Jiraiya. We're not going to go anywhere if you fool around, Naruto said, as he dashed towards the Prida path. Konan decided to get involved even though Nagato had told her to stay away. She thought it was best if they fought together, seeing that Nagato only brought out two paths to fight. She flapped her wings and appeared just above Naruto, blocking his path, as her wings started to form shurikens that dashed towards him. She wasn't just releasing a couple but many of them that made it impossible for him to dodge. Wind style, great wind breakthrough, as Naruto released a powerful gust of wind without even going through hand signs. As the jutsu smashed into the shurikens, but Konan didn't let up as she kept on firing them, as she created paper arrows as well and launched them from all different directions. But Naruto vanished as he appeared on the ground. As Naruto had to roll out of the way when the paper arrows and shurikens stabbed into the ground where he once was. Suddenly the Prida pad appeared beside him as its foot was cleaning through the air to slam a right foot in Naruto's face. As Naruto cursed, he was focusing on Konan and not the pains, a stupid childish mistake, as he could just watch as the foot crashed into him that sent him flying back. As he was sent flying back, multiple paper arrows started to come towards him, but he twisted his body in the air and flipped past all of them. He then looked up and released a burst, a huge burst of steam from his mouth, pure incinerating flames without doing hand signs. As Konan had to move away as they incinerated her paper. Prida Pad then flashed in front of Naruto, his hands going towards Naruto's neck. Earlier with Jiraiya, Jiraiya watched as Naruto took off. Nagato doesn't look like he was going to listen to reason, so they have to fight. As Jiraiya launched towards the other pain in a blur, as he slammed his hands together while still in mid-air. Let us see how you have really grown from just being a man to a god, Nagato. His hair suddenly grew long before speeding towards the animal path. Within moments the path was tangled by a firm hair. But when he tried to strike the path, he exploded in a poof of smoke. I'm over here, Sensei, Nagato said, as he was standing on top of a green lizard who was holding on to the wall. Another large animal appeared speeding through the wall and launched towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya quickly retracted his hair before summoning a clone, as the clone pushed him up into the air. As the clone got crushed by the animal claw. Big ball Rasengan, Jiraiya said, as he formed a massive Rasengan above the crab, as gravity was pulling him down, as he smashed it straight into the large crab. As the summoning animal crashed into the ground and poofed away. Before Jiraiya could focus on pain once more, an ox was charging towards him. Despite its ridiculous size, the ox was incredibly fast, as Jiraiya leapt in the air to avoid it, as it ended up crashing through the wall because he could not stop its movements that easily. Before he could even look for pain, Jiraiya snapped his eyes to his left as he saw a large bird, as it flew past him with blinding speeds, as Jiraiya felt the huge gust of wind smash into him. The bird then dropped a strange egg that was glowing, and then it went boom, as Jiraiya burst out of the explosion unharmed. There were only a few cuts on his clothes. As he landed and looked around, and Nagato had disappeared, he couldn't even see him now. He frowned slightly. He was not winning this battle, and why was Nagato fighting like this? The Nagato he knew excelled in every form of ninjutsu. Meanwhile, with Naruto, the previous path was holding Naruto by his throat. As Naruto was just looking at the path with an emotionless look on his face before he burst into flames. As Naruto appeared in a blur behind the path, as he wasn't surprised he saw the path absorbing the flames. He didn't let it hold him back from making his attack, as he swung his sword through the air with his right hand, as it was also coated with wind, enlarged in a way that human eyes could not see. Even if the path managed to leap forward, it would still be caught because the sword was extremely long with the wind. But Naruto saw the path duck under his blade while twisting around, as he watched his blade just cut above the path. It wasn't even looking, and yet it dodged. No one had that kind of senses. If anything, it looked like it developed a pair of eyes from its back. The path then jumped away as Naruto saw more papers coming down, but all of these papers were lined with explosion. As soon as they came down, the entire place erupted in an explosion. As the previous path knew that such a small explosion would not take down the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. This was just the beginning of the battle. There was still more to come, as the robot path joined in. He then looked towards Konan. You can step back, Konan. The others are on standby if they're needed. Konan nodded as she made some distance between herself and the battles. She was just going to watch from afar if she was needed. She wouldn't hesitate to step in. Naruto burst out of the smoke. As his sword was in his hand, he appeared behind the Prida path and swung to decapitate him, but the Prida path ducked like before. But Naruto turned his hand slightly with his blade. Extended blade, he said, as the wind extending from his blade, creating a long replica of his sword as it teared through the Prida path's skull. As the path didn't even know what hit him. Naruto couldn't celebrate long as a missile came towards him. The missile exploded as soon as it hit the ground, but Naruto was already gone. As Naruto turned to see the path, the robot path didn't come after him. It collected the Prida path body and jumped away. When Naruto saw his next opponent disappear, he looked towards where Jiraiya was, as Naruto flashed away, as Jiraiya was surrounded by a rhino and a ox, who seemed to be having a tough time, Naruto said, with his back against Jiraiya's. At least I'm in a better condition than you, Jiraiya said as he saw Naruto's shirt was torn up and several cuts was on his body. Your opponent gave you that much of a hard time. Yes, but when you're facing an opponent who has the ability to absorb your chakra and seem to have eyes in the back of his head, it is not something you can get out of without a scratch. Your only chance is to hit him with the attack that he can't see. What have you learned, Naruto said? The ox has no other abilities that I have seen. It is just likely going to charge ahead. Given its size and its speed, we can just move out of the way and allow it to crash with the rhino and then apply the finishing move. Let's lure them in then, said Naruto. Jiraiya then turned towards the ox. Come here, boy, he said, as he formed a Rasengan. The ox released some steam through his nose before dashing towards them. When the two giant animals near them, both of them leaped up in the air. The ox tried to hit the brakes when the Konoha ninjas disappeared, but he could not stop, as it slammed into the head of the rhino. As Naruto hand with the Rasengan, there was a screeching sound that was going off of it as Jiraiya sunshine away, as Naruto hurled his jutsu straight down. As the jutsu reached both of them, it then expanded outwards into a violent, deadly force of wind, as 1,000 blades tear through the two animals that they were nothing, as Nagato was quickly desummoned them. Before anything could happen, Tendo and the five appeared, all of them standing on the high ground above Jiraiya and Naruto. "That's a rather nasty jutsu," said Tendo. "Forging jutsu are different. You rely on your own power instead of your bijus. It has been rather impressive so far." Naruto narrowed his eyes. As he stared at the path, he killed him. Yes, he was sure that he killed him. So how is he back? As Naruto could not believe what he was seeing. He knew it was an illusion. The man that he killed was brought back to life. As Naruto had his reach to stare and Jiraiya had his own. He was staring at Yaiko. How come Yaiko had the Rinnegan as well? How were there even 6 Rinnegan users in this place? It shouldn't be possible. And even with all the summons he was fighting, all of them had the Rinnegan. "Yaiko, how come you have the Rinnegan?" "There was once a man with that name," said Tendo, "but he died a long time ago." As Jiraiya shook his head, this could not be Nagato. Maybe it's because he just addressed the man as Nagato and the man responded. This was most likely a different person. And he knew that body. That was Yaiko's body. And if that wasn't Yaiko, then who was it? He was seeing the body of Yaiko, not someone else. As Jiraiya narrowed his eyes, all of these people, he met them all before in the past. Yes, but they were all dead. "Who are you really?" Jiraiya asked. "We are Pain. We are God," all of them said in unison. "Jiraiya, I killed one of them. You saw it as well, but now they're alive, and now there are 6 of them. To win this, I will have to use the Kyuubi's chakra," Naruto said. "If you had signed the touch contract I gave you a long time ago, we both are thinking about entering Sage Mode right now. But no, you refuse. But to enter Sage Mode requires time, and now there are 6 of them. I don't think I will get the time enough to do that. This Sage Mode, how powerful is it?" Naruto asked. "You just need to see," Jiraiya said calmly. "Let us try to thin down their numbers, and then I will give you the window to enter Sage Mode if possible. If not, we will just have to make do with what we have. But we must be fast. I don't want..." But Naruto was cut off, as the 6 pains crash landed around them, surrounding them with pierced gaze. Naruto leaped in the air, as Jiraiya slammed his hands together, as he released a stream of flame from his mouth, as the flames dashed towards Tendo. Jiraiya then twisted his body around, as he released flames towards all of them. "Almighty. Push," Tendo said. As the flames were smashed back to Jiraiya, Jiraiya disappeared by a Sonshin. As Naruto noticed that the paths were still focused on Jiraiya, as he pulled the 3-pronged kunai and threw it towards the path he killed earlier. He already knew that he could absorb chakra, so fighting with it would be a problem, seeing that he mostly focused on ninjutsu. The path tilted his body as the kunai passed him, but Naruto vanished as he appeared with a Rasengan in his hand. As Naruto drove the Rasengan straight in the path back, but the path then leaned forward to avoid the attack. That wasn't possible. He didn't even see him. Before he could even think, the robot path sent a missile towards his chest. As he was in no position to dodge this, he turned his hand and slammed the Rasengan into it as it exploded. He was blasted away from the explosion, but before he could go any further, the animal path appeared above him. As it attempted to slam his heel on Naruto's skull, Jiraiya appeared to the side, his feet already weaving through the air. As he smashed his feet right into the path's chest, that sent him sailing away from Naruto. The giant bird then shrieked past and dropped 3 bombs before Jiraiya could do anything. As Jiraiya slammed his hands together, his hair grew wild as the explosions went off, as the pains just watched. When the flames finally cleared, neither Naruto or Jiraiya was there. "Tunnel," said Tendo. As indeed, Naruto and Jiraiya were in the dark tunnels, as Naruto was leaning against the wall and so was Jiraiya. "I guess his 6th sense was on spot," Naruto said, as Jiraiya nodded, as he had thought that they were going to face an incredible opponent that he might not have defeated, as Jiraiya knew if he was here by himself he would have surely died. "I never expected Nagato to become this powerful though. It is almost scary we haven't been able to deal any lasting damage to them." Naruto nodded. "Did you notice it though? They seem to be able to dodge attacks when they're not looking. But when you look at it, one of them is always looking. It is quite possible they have a sheer link between their eyes. They do possess a dojutsu after all, the same one." Jiraiya frowned. "I also realized that, seeing that all of them are dead shinobis I've met in the past, and neither of them are Nagato. However, I can confirm that Nagato was the one who wielded the Rinnegan. I don't really understand what is happening. You call one of them Nagato since we have met them, but they have never disagreed being Nagato. You have only trained Konan, Nagato and Yaiko, but yet all of them call you sensei. Could it be that Nagato is the one that is controlling all of them? A possibility, but an explosion went off, cutting Jiraiya from his sentence, as the force of the blast caused the two of them to slam into the other side of the tunnel, as Jiraiya sends a path, launching through the hole that was created by the explosion as he moved out of the way. As Naruto quickly spin around, as he points his two fingers forward, extended blade, he said. A thin line of wing that matched the side of his finger pierced through the path's forehead. Behind you, Naruto said, as another path appeared behind Jiraiya, with his legs already brought up, as he smashed it into Jiraiya's back. As Jiraiya was sent sailing over the path that Naruto just attacked, Naruto grabbed the path on the ground as he dashed towards Jiraiya. He wouldn't let them take this one, as they have a way to bring them back to life. As Jiraiya recovered his balance and he was running with Naruto now, "Isn't that slowing you down?" he asked, looking down the path, as there was another path chasing them from behind. "Doesn't matter, the last time I killed one of them, the other fetched the corpse and brought it back to life. I don't want to see something like that again." As Jiraiya simply nodded as he understood what Naruto was talking about. They have to turn to ash to make sure it wasn't revived. Surely, the Rinnegan could not revive something that has been turned into ash. As the both of them leaped out of the tunnel, they were welcomed by 4 missiles. As the missiles made contact with them, and a huge explosion went off. As Naruto and Jiraiya came dropping out of the smoke, as the path was in bad condition, only half of his body remained because Naruto used it as a shield. As both Naruto and Jiraiya were huffing, "At this point, I won't be able to enter Sage mode. They're not giving us that chance." Naruto looked at the path that they had killed carefully. At least they managed to remove the one with the troublesome summons. As far as he could see, their summons were all gone, so there was just 5 left now. As Naruto used a fire jutsu and incinerated the summoning pain rest of his body. As Tendo landed, "I see. You are figuring out one of our abilities, but it does not matter. You will still lose here." The only reason why they would risk carrying the animal path is because they realized if they left it behind, it would be revived. "How are your wounds?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto's body was already healed by the Kyuubi. "I'll be fine," he said. "Our focus is on those 5. I'm just making sure you're fine. You know, your mother would kill me if something happened to you. And besides, didn't you say that you knocked up Sasuke's mother?" He said that grin. Despite their situation, he could still smile like that. "If you cannot enter Sage mode, I will have to use the Kyuubi's power. But we must first get rid of the one that absorbed. Assuming that each pain have a unique ability, I can let it loose without worrying about my chakra being absorbed." As Naruto went through hand signs, first we break their formation and blind them. We have no choice but to act at full speed, otherwise we will not win this battle. As Crimson Chakra started to bubble around him, as 3 tails formed behind him. "I thought you were not going to use that power until we get rid of that pain," Jiraiya asked. He knew if Nagato absorbed that kind of chakra, it would be game over for them. It would have weakened Naruto and strengthened the enemy, and that would not be good news. "I just need the chakra for the jutsu I'm going to use. I would rather not use my own chakra. Use this chance to summon the toads for the Sage mode." "Kiss off the wind god," Naruto said. Jiraiya then noticed the wind around Naruto started to change, and he could see it visibly. But that wasn't the biggest change. A violent vortex appeared in the sky. The rotating wind started to affect the atmosphere in a deadly way, as a tall tower started to tear off as the wind pulled everything it came in contact with. The village may have been having a lot of skyscrapers, but the monstrous thing in the sky caught a lot of civilians' attention. Tendo looked at the sky as the jutsu slowly descended down to them, as it was tearing everything apart coming down. This was a natural disaster, something that one called the force of nature, as the tower on his right exploded, as it could no longer resist the violent pull of the tornado. Tendo frowned as a piece of steel started to fall down to the ground. He no longer had any summons with him, and that wasn't something that can be absorbed. He could use Almighty Push, but he would have to be inside the jutsu. As strong as he is, he knew if doing that would be suicidal, as the jutsu would rip him apart if he got close enough. Tendo's eyes widened and the vortex started to speed down to the ground in a second. It had happened so fast, as he thought it would have come down slowly. The other paths made a hasty retreat to avoid being hit by the violent vortex of wind, as the thing tore through the ground, as violent winds started to pick up even more, as the jutsu wreaked havoc on the ground. As the Prida path was moving away from the jutsu, he felt something behind him, but it was too late. Extended blade, Naruto said, as a blade teared through the Prida path neck. As he twisted his hand, separating the Pain's head from his shoulder. Before Naruto could do anything else, a powerful wave smashed into him, pushing Path into him as well, as Tendo had released his almighty push. The jutsu he released blasted the wind to all sides, breaking the rotation, as all the pieces of steel were blasting to all kinds of directions, hitting some other buildings around. As it was just chaos, as Nagato knew that he had to do something before it swallowed up everything. However, the pieces of steel fly in all kinds of directions, as a piece of steel tear right through the Revival Path chest, pinning him to the wall, as Naruto was resting against the wall, as he was not in a good condition, due to that unexpected jutsu from Pain. "You have done quite the damage to my village," Tendo said. "I knew you were powerful, but I did not expect something like this. In any case, this looks like the farthest you can go." The remaining path gathered around Tendo Pain, as the robot Pain tear off his remaining cloak and produce a massive chainsaw. "Universal pull," Tendo Pain said, as Naruto was being pulled towards the robot path, as Tendo was right behind him, as the chainsaw was facing right towards him. As Naruto channeled chakra to his feet, but Tendo only increased the power of the pull, as the chainsaw tear right through Naruto's stomach, but Naruto burst into a murder of crows. "I see. This is different from what Itachi used to do. You use your ability like how Conan can turn your entire body into paper. You can turn your entire body into crows. You really have an impressive ninjutsu arsenal. Had you not been a Jinjutsu, you would have been an ideal partner to the Akatsuki," said Tendo. He then heard a sound in the tunnel, as the robot path turned and replaced the chainsaw with a cannon, as he launched a blue, piercing beam that went straight towards it, as a blast hit the tunnel and exploded to pure flames, tearing through all of it. A moment later, Jiraiya smashed into the ground, breaking it as he fell, as both toads were on his shoulders as he was in Sage mode. Seeing the destruction around them, Paul wanted to ask about the destruction of the battle they were fighting. A normal human cannot cause this much destruction, but he could not ask seeing that the both toads were already making a loud noise, a screech, as Jiraiya told him to cast a genjutsu. Once he was synchronized with Shima, the two released the demonic illusion, as the three remaining paths were trapped in a powerful genjutsu they could not escape. Jiraiya finally signed relief when the genjutsu was a success. "It looked like Minato-chan's son was caught into it as well," said Paul, as Naruto was in the range of the genjutsu. "He will be fine," Jiraiya said. "We should focus on handling those three. You just have to hurry up and give the finishing blow, Jiraiya, and hurry up. I want to gather ingredients for tonight's dinner," Ma said, as Jiraiya shook his head as he walked over towards the three paths, as they were trapped inside of the illusion they could not move, as he stabbed all three of them to the chest, as the toads cancelled the genjutsu. "What the hell was that?" Naruto said, as Jiraiya grinned. "The sound of our victory," he said. "I think we can handle things from here." The toads nodded as they then poofed away. Jiraiya was walking towards Naruto before Konan intercepted. "I never thought that you would be able to achieve this, Jiraiya-sensei." "Well," said Jiraiya with a smile, "a master would always be the master," he said. "Now Konan, where is Nagato? I want to talk to him. Consider what you two have done. I cannot let you do that, Sensei. I must finish you off now." "I don't want to fight you, Konan. I don't want to fight Nagato. We won this battle. I just want to talk to him. I want to understand why things turned out this way." As Nagato spoke through the revival path, "It is alright, Konan. Leave them to me." "Are you sure, Nagato?" she asked. "Don't be like that, Konan," said Jiraiya. "I'm your sensei. You can trust me. Was I ever dishonest with you guys?" As Konan didn't say anything, she just started to walk off. "Follow me," she said, as Naruto and Jiraiya followed behind her. A few minutes later, "It's been a long time, Jiraiya-sensei," said Nagato in his mechanical walker. It was still surprised that he lost against these two, but he underestimated them. Madara did told him that he should be wary of the blonde. Jiraiya looked at Nagato as he was surprised to see his current state. The mechanical walker and the rods behind him, and his body was in a poor condition as well, as he could see his ribs. "What happened to you, Nagato?" Jiraiya asked. As Nagato just looked at the both of them, they didn't seem armed to attack him. Perhaps they just wanted to talk. But what is there to talk about? "We follow your teaching, Sensei, and we start the Akatsuki with Yaiko as our leader. We were doing good and gained many followers. We even gained Hanzo acknowledgement. We were happy thinking that we were finally doing something good for Hanzo to acknowledge us. But we realized it was naive of us to think that Hanzo would actually acknowledge us, and that was a mistake we made. He betrayed us, along with Donzo of your village. Because of this betrayal, Yaiko died, and I was left in this condition. The pain I experienced forced me to grow and throw away my childish dream. The Akatsuki could not change anything the way it was. I already told you the pain forced me to mature. Our dream is to stop the cycle of hatred through pain. This world is in constant conflicts. Shinobis always betray each other, and the hatred never stops. Jiraiya was silent for a couple of seconds. He then spoke. Do you really think you can bring peace by teaching the world pain? As Jiraiya then spoke again, Nagato, as your sensei, I am really disappointed you turned out this way. For some time I thought you would be the child of prophecy because of those eyes. Even in your current state you still display so much power. Without Naruto, I couldn't have won, and if you were in better shape, we would have lost the battle. You wield great power, Nagato, and I believe it's for a purpose. It is not too late to change and use your power for good. Nagato, I won't tell anyone about your identity. You can still go back. There is no going back, Sensei. There is only one path to peace. Sensei, have you found the answer? Tell me, if you can tell me another way. Can you really say there's another way to stop all the hatred? As Naruto then spoke, I understand why the Kyuubi didn't want to tell me about this thing. Nagato, what do you call the statue you used to seal the Bijus? Nagato blinked, as Naruto simply just changed the conversation like that. But Nagato didn't see any reason to hide the truth. It is a Gedo statue. Only the Rinnegan can control it, but I would be lying if I say I know everything about it. How did you know about it, Naruto asked. I was told about it by Madara, and a lot of things about the Rinnegan as well. Kyuubi, you and I will have a talk soon, Naruto said. And if you hesitate, I will go into your head to get the information. He then focused back on Nagato. Madara is dead. I'm sure you're talking about that masked Uchiha. In any case, he has his own agenda as well. You're not stupid, you should know that as well. While I cannot say my desire is peace, I want a more light world, where it is not dominated by the hatreds and wrong of man. Your power will be useful in achieving that dream. We can even work together, Naruto said as he turned around. I will return shortly. I must murder that masked Uchiha for what he did. I am sure he will make an appearance once he knows something is wrong. I will talk to you in Konoha, Jiraiya. I still have personal things to sort out. We still haven't had our talk, Jiraiya said. Talking to your former students is much more important. If you can pull off a win, I will appreciate it. You won't use the chance to get closer to me, but I've always told you, I don't hate you, Naruto said, as he disappeared along with the wind. Your student? Nagato asked. Something like that. I did train him a bit, but he still doesn't acknowledge me as his sensei, Jiraiya said. He isn't like you, sensei. I do get the feeling if he was like us, he would be fighting to the bone for our cause. You don't know how correct you are. He has some darkness within him. It's frightening. And considering what he just pulled from the sky earlier, I have one more reason to be afraid. You could say if he has lost his mother, he could become something even more scarier than you. If you say such things about him, why do you say he wished for peace? Because the kind of world he lives in, only he can tell you the true reason. But he does want a peaceful world. I don't think I have seen anyone who hates how humans live more than him. He understands how people think and operate. Therefore, I can tell if you talk to him, you can achieve your dreams, Nagato. With a person who cannot let go of his anger, Nagato asks. I told you, he isn't a nice person. I think he's just afraid of turning evil. He still has his mother. That is like Yaiko to you. Time skip. Although he was tired and needed a long sleep, Naruto did not rested. The situation he had to deal with now that he was back was troubling him. Mikoto was still pregnant and he has to face that, as this was going to change things in his life a lot. He will now have to accommodate the child that Mikoto was carrying. You're rather quiet today, Naruto, said Kushina, as he was always talking at the table with her. As Naruto looked towards the mother with a smile, it's been a long day, he said. My body is still feeling the effects of a battle with the Akatsuki leader. A long battle it had been. You should have rested like how I told you to, said Kushina. I wanted to spend some time with you, Naruto said with a smile. There was a chance he wouldn't have this time anymore tomorrow. She'd find out. Before he visited anyone before returning to the leaf, he went to Mikoto just to clear up things, as he ended up talking to her about the pregnancy and to break the news as soon as possible. It would be a problem if his mother learned about it from another source. It would be a betrayal. It was better to tell her. He had agreed with the plan, but he wasn't going to do the talking. He was just going to stand at sidelines and watch. In any case, Naruto said, it turns out that the leader of the Akatsuki was a Uzumaki, and someone Jiraiya had trained for 3 years. He called them the Rain Orphans. Kushina tilted her head to the side. Oh, them? He often spoke about them. As Kushina wondered how could someone turn evil after Jiraiya trained them. Jiraiya was, yeah, he had his flaw here and there, but he was a kind, peaceful man. You don't have to worry, Mother Naruto said. He's still alive. And Jiraiya is there, trying to get him back to the path of good. If things turn out okay, you might meet someone from our clan, Naruto said. For now, we know that your two members still alive. We don't have to count much on Nagato because he's leader of the Hidden Rain. But with the one Orochimaru has, we will get her one day. Kushina smiled. That is wonderful, Naruto. I was starting to think that we wouldn't be able to find any other members of our clan. Naruto nodded, the smile on his face. It was always a joy to bring. A smile on his mother's face. Am I the only one missing something here, Yuji said. I don't want to ruin the mood, but he was the leader of the Akatsuki. And, do you think the other Kages are going to let something like that slide? Tsunade couldn't even shield him, because if he did so, Konoha will become enemies of other nations. That would certainly go against everything that Naruto wanted. He had yet to meet Kurosaki to talk to her about his ambitions. They don't have to know that Nagato is the leader of the Akatsuki, Naruto said. If we don't tell them, they won't find out. Nobody knows his real identity, not even the people of Hidden Rain, a village that he leads. As Yuji was shocked. Surprising. As they finished eating off their food, as Kushina kissed Naruto in his forehead goodnight, as she went off, as Naruto told Yuji to follow him, as she came inside of his study, as Naruto closed the door behind her and locked it. Is something wrong? She asked. As she moved closer to him, he held out his right hand. It is better if you don't come any closer, he said. He took a deep breath in. As he released it, Mikoto says she's pregnant and she isn't bluffing, Naruto said. I spoke to her before I left for the Hidden Rain. But guys, it'll be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part of it, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to be posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And stay in tune for the rest of the what ifs coming your way. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. But for now, I'm out. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.